don't you want to win with us? What is the matter, my American friend? What has upset you? A bad machine doesn't know he's a bad machine. You still don't believe it. You still don't believe you're a bad machine. To know yourself is to know God, my friend. The factory knows, that's why they put you here. You'll see. You'll find out. In time, you'll know.
Oh, I know. I already know. I know that you are a bad machine. That's why the factory keeps you here. Do you know how I know, huh? I know because I'm from the factory. I make the machines.
You're listening to Jim Dynamo's Bad Machine, home of the intellectual smackdown, where thought exists without error and truth knows no compromise. No quarter is asked, and no quarter is given, as the lies that bind us to the bad machine are torn asunder with unassailable fact and unquestionable reason. So put on your thinking caps and strap yourselves in, and stand by for the original man-machine, Jim Dynamo.
When your bags ain't packed.
Let us begin at the beginning. What once was whole was split asunder, and in its place there arose two worlds. Worlds as different as daylight and darkness, virtue and evil. One is called New Genesis, unparalleled in its beauty. It is ruled by the wise and powerful High Father. The other is Apocalypse, a ravaged wasteland, ruled by the demonic and omnipotent Darkseid. He psychically feeds on the despair and misery of others. Because of their opposite natures, these two worlds have been locked in eternal war. However, an uneasy truce was established when Darkseid and High Father exchanged their infant sons. Unfortunately, this has not diminished Darkseid's ambitions. For years, he has searched the galaxies for the legendary anti-life equation, a formula that would give him complete control over all living things. In his endless search, he has conquered and subjugated planet after planet.
Dr. Persinger's saying is that virtually any mental state can be artificially injected into a human brain from an exterior source. The most frightening thing is that the means for doing this already exists in a fully operational form on a worldwide basis. Quote, "The power levels for these amplitudes are similar to those associated with the signals generated globally by radio and communication system. Within the last 2 decades, a potential has emerged which was improbable, but which is now marginally feasible. This potential is the technical capability to influence directly the major portion of the approximately 6 billion brains of the human species by generating neural information within a physical medium within which all members of the species are immersed, unquote. Dr. Persinger's message, minus the jargon, is that the entire human race can be controlled through the use of electromagnetic influence piggybacked on television and radio networks or other technological means.
What you have to report from our agents on Earth?
Sire, the powerful one has found a mother box. The one they mistakenly call Superman.
And?
These defenders have sprung up like antibodies to protect their planet. We are in danger of losing the element of surprise, my lord. I humbly ask that you move up your timetable.
Let the invasion begin.
February of 1971, the scholar Jacob Kurtzberg saw his latest writing see publication. The epic work detailed the ancient tale of two brothers from a family that lived before recorded time. Two brothers who would raise their sons in the vision each of them had for their own respective kingdoms. One, an idyllic paradise of peaceful existence, study, and adventure. The other, a totalitarian state of constant abuse and oppression. Two brothers, Isaiah the Inheritor and Uxas the Dark. The mortals would transcend all they knew as the powers unleashed by the Ragnarok of the old gods transformed the last inhabitants of Ugrund into what Kurtzberg called the new gods. Isaiah and Uxas were gone, and in their place stood Highfather and his moral and ethical opposite, Darkseid. The world knows the scholar Jacob Kurtzberg by his nom de plume, Jack the King Kirby. Jack Kirby's New Gods would become part of the DC Comics universe. Initially intended to be a self-contained miniseries, the popularity of Kirby's characters demanded its inclusion to the fictional multiverse and its costumed heroes. Jack Kirby's works include the introduction of the Super Soldier Serum and its sole consumer, Captain America. Kirby would create the Fighting American, the Fantastic Four, the Inhumans, OMAC, the One-Man Army Corps, and countless others. Kirby's visions are brought to life today with Kenneth Branagh's cinematic masterpiece, Thor, a perfect recreation of the King's four-color print works. But Kirby's visions were not always of hidden lands with advanced technology, or of eternal realms of golden palaces and god-forged swords. Kirby, a World War II foot soldier, who had taken part in the liberation of fascist Italy, he would use his art form to warn the readers of the threats represented by the totalitarian world of state-imposed tyranny. Corporate oligarchs like Mr. Big, state tyrants like Marshal Kafka, international eco-terrorists like Dr. Scuba. Kirby's villains would presage the real-world doppelgangers, like the anti-American billionaire Marxist George Soros, Saddam Hussein or Recep Erdogan, tyrant of Turkey, and the environmental fraudsters like Al Gore or East Anglia University in the UK, who extort billions from world governments with lies disproved by 6th grade earth science textbooks. But the stone-faced Darkseid would come to embody true evil for all who would be introduced to the perpetual archetype. Kirby's comic book fiction would oddly parallel an even older story, hidden in human history, that of two brothers, one called Enlil, the other Enki. That story would mirror the genocidal tyrant Darkseid and the life-protecting Highfather, as would the legacies of their respective sons, Alalu the Destroyer and Ningishida, the Messenger Healer. Kirby's modern-day revisioning of the Atrahasis, Enuma Elish, Nag Hammadi would provide coded disclosure for all who recognize the ancient symbology and a dire warning for all readers, those initiated in the hidden history of mankind and those simply entertained by the comic book adventures. Bronx born and raised, Jacob Kurtzberg, Jack Kirby knew tyranny. He knew the dark force that possesses both man and nation. Kirby learned the same lessons that our fathers and grandfathers learned, as they were forced to liberate the lands of their fathers and grandfathers from National Socialism's fascistic grip. Kirby would relive these horrors in many of his illustrated works, reminding readers monthly that war is hell. Kirby's darker new gods would be reflections of the old world's nightmares. The creepy Dazad, an analog for Torquemada, the festooned Kanto, a Renaissance-era Borgia-styled assassin, Steppenwolf, a Cossack marauder of Russia, Vermin Wunderbar, a Mussolini-esque jackbooted thug, and Granny Goodness, always identified as female, but voiced in the DC Comics animated adventures by actor Ed Asner, suggesting Kirby's Granny was an evil tranny dominatrix, rather than the traditionally accepted phallus-wielding bulldyke. Kirby knew the threats posed by the segments of society who always expressed their penchant for tyranny and brutal oppression. Darkseid's quest for the ever-elusive anti-life equation also mirrored earthly tyrants' wish to control the masses with only their whim and a spoken word. Whether the mumbled chants of the animal skin-wearing shamans of old, or the robe-draped kings, priests, and judges whose pronouncements are to be accepted as the law, all would-be rulers of men hope their words alone will sway the masses they seek to hold in check. The fictional anti-life equation would circumvent the word, and it would hold Darkseid's apocalyptic populace in thrall with a simple coded signal.
Even the government has been secretly developing new mind control technology. According to this article in the Washington Post magazine, in 1994, the Air Force Research Laboratory carried out experiments where scientists used technology to transmit phrases into the heads of human subjects. How? By burying subliminal messages in microwaves and beaming them into a person's head. What is known is that microwaves carry energy. When a microwave pulse is absorbed by our body, this energy is converted to heat, causing the tissue to expand slightly and then contract when it cools. If the microwave were aimed at our head, this expansion and contraction would be heard as a clicking sound that can be encoded into words.
Kirby's warning would come 2 years before the United States government would successfully test their own mind-controlling signal, implanting words directly into a test subject's brain without using the traditional audio signal method. American scientists had perfected the anti-life equation. They had achieved direct signal mind control. Psycho engineers had already perfected using mind control techniques decades earlier, easily manipulating the thought process using a series of images, some containing overt messages, others operating on subliminal regions of perception, nefariously manipulating your subconscious desires to make lobby purchases or consumer product purchases later on.
The greatest social messages are promoted through movies and drama, high drama, through the fixation of emotive sequences, emotional sequences, not logical, factual sequences, but pushing points across in an emotional way which register and fix in the mind. So emotional content is very, very important rather than go through an actual discussion or an argument using logic and facts. There's no debate. And when you're being downloaded through fiction, your guard is down, the sensor part of your brain is not in action. It isn't saying, yes, I agree with this, I disagree with that, as you would in a debate or a lecture. You're actually in an alpha state, being completely downloaded with new ideas.
For 43 years, the United States government has been able to send messages and ideas and manipulate emotions with pulsing electronic signals that envelop all who live in the urban areas of the United States.
Effectively, all consciousness is due to electromagnetic patterns generated within the brain. What we do is imitate what the brain normally does and apply it experimentally.
Where are these thoughts coming from?
Those thoughts came from the Neuroscience Laboratory at Laurentian University in Sudbury, Ontario.
Frequency manipulation of the masses would first use radio waves, then broadcast television, eventually the complex decoder box delivering your favorite cable programming on your energy-pulsing plasma television.
This is how I found you. Let me demonstrate. This is your brain on the box. This is my brain on the box. Does anybody else feel like a fried egg? I'll have a bit more, thank you. Oh, there's more. the first one's free.